through it.
Sorry if I held you up a bit.
Oh, it's all good. So, want to talk about, I know, Jared, you missed a little bit of this when I was working on it with Tim, but I just want to talk about a couple things for the resume page. Just kind of discussing what should be happening with your resume page. And in this version, what I did is, this is the JPEG. So basically, I took the resume and I went to, so see if I can find it. So I went to the resume itself in my documents, and I transitioned it from a PDF to a JPEG, which you guys, most of you have already done. Let me just find let's see, so, oh, here we go. Okay, so you could have very easily just said, all right, if I have it in Word, most of you have already translated it to PDF. So if we just kind of start from the beginning, we can go, all right, we're going to go from Word and save as a PDF. So we'll save as a PDF. Once we have it in PDF form, we're going to open it up in Adobe. Oops. Adobe. Once it's in Adobe, we can go File, Save As, and you'll see Image, JPEG. So now we save it as a JPEG. Once we save it as a JPEG, that's when after we have it as a JPEG, that's when we're able to load it to the Wix editor. Now you can load it as a document, but when you load it as a document, it comes in as a link. It doesn't come in as or a button. It doesn't come in as something you can just read off the bat. So what we did here is, if we go look at the upload section here, this must have been a while ago, so let's go find it. Okay, here we are. Basically what I did is I did upload image, and here's the student resume. I selected it and applied it, and there it is. Here we go. And of course we can then, size adjust it. The whole purpose of this is really so that the formatting is fixed. So we want to just make sure that the formatting you work so hard to deliver, bullet points, columns, all that stuff, is stationary and doesn't get adjusted. But on top of that, what we also need to do is we also want to make it available for download. So essentially, what we can do here is there's a couple things we can do. One way Tim had set his up is if you go to the market on the left, you can find all sorts of other stuff that's not listed as available in the ad section. So if we go to the market on the left, you could simply search document, and it'll show, okay, these are the types of things you can do. We could do add to site in this document section. And if we want to add a document to site, essentially what it's going to require is we're going to upload a document, right? And then we'll choose it. Right now I already have the sample resume up. So if I apply this is what it looks like. Not entirely flattering at the moment. So what we do instead is we want to change the settings on this. And then when we're in the settings, you can see it says change icon. We can change the icon to something that resembles a PDF. So any one of these PDF icons will work, great. So we'll just choose one. The other thing is down below it says show the title. So it doesn't actually have to be, named the title itself. Where down below it says show the title or not. The other thing is where it says what is the title. You technically can change this so that it's not the same as the PDF itself. So if you were going to put download resume, so it looks like a link, you could just type that in, and there you go with that particular element. The only other thing that needs to be changed here is in the let's see, actually we could do it from here, huh? It seems that the text that's down below needs to be white instead of black. Let me see if I can figure out how we can get that portion set up. Now let me undo that real quick. 'Cause it seems as though sample resume. Download resume. Oops. Oh, that's all sorts of fun. Let's see here if we got an option for. That is strange. Yeah, it's one thing I actually don't see here. I don't see any options for changing the text from black to white. So that may be a bit of a problem. I guess the good news is, if that works for you, great. The other thing you can do that I didn't show Tim, so Tim, if you create a button, which is what you see here, what you can do instead, if you go to add and you just create a button, which you can choose from any one of these button types that are up here. So let's say I do this one. So I'm going to start with a fresh button. And you could really apply this button anywhere. So it doesn't have to be off to the space on the right like I have it. You know, I really could, let's say I just delete this for now. I really could take this resume image and center it on screen. Oops, kind of floating a little, there we go. And then add the button down below. You know, I could put it off to the side. It's kind of whatever you guys decide you want to do. For now, because of visibility, I'm just gonna center it for now so you can see it on screen. If I change the text, at this point in time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in download resume, preferably all caps because it looks better. Notice immediately it says, where does it link to underneath? The other thing you could do is when you click on it, you'll notice there's a link icon. Once you get that far, let me center this again. All right, there we go. Drop it down just a little. I'm going to go ahead and link it. But notice there's a couple options for it. It says, what do you want to link to? And it says none, page, anchor, web address, email, document, top of page, bottom of page. Well, here's the cool part. You know, you could use any one of these, but notice document's already in the listing. So what doc are you linking to? You can go ahead and choose it. And since you've already imported your document, it already belongs in your document section. If you haven't done this, if you open it up and there's nothing in there, you're going to have to upload your document. You can just go ahead and choose your resume to apply, and then there you go. And so now this button actually links to the document called sample resume in mine. So if I go now and hit preview, and I hit my download resume button, this is what happens. It opens it up in a PDF viewer, and what's nice is it navigates you into a new tab, which is great. It's from this particular location. You can actually hit the download button, you can hit print, you know, all the things you're used to when you open up a PDF on the web. It's nice and easy, right? So, and then of course you can move this around. Oh, whoops, I forgot we were in the editor, or not in the editor. So now, you know, once you've placed the button, you can kind of, it's fair game. You can decide to put it wherever you like, you know, but the good part is it's already built, it's already ready to go. You know, wherever you decide to place it is fine. I'm just a huge fan of making sure that you have, whether it's the icon or it's a button, or even if it's a link, it just have to have some place they can download this. because you made it into a JPEG, it's not going to be favorable that they download it as a JPEG, because then their printer a lot of times is going to try to figure out how to format it. Size-wise, it's going to be easier for them to be able to download it directly as a PDF. That way they can use it as they're used to and comfortable with as a PDF. So there's that. Cool part about this is now that you've learned this element, now you kind of get an idea or a feel for what else you can do in terms of creating buttons if you decide you want to create some buttons to other things. Because you can create buttons to help you jump or navigate through pages. You can create buttons, like let's say we go to the audio tab. So this might be a great example. Like if you're creating your audio tab, so let me go over to the audio tab here real quick. If we're going to create our audio tab, and let's say we didn't exactly want to jump to this particular stuff immediately. Maybe you have half of your audio is audio embedded with video, or half of your audio is just straight audio. Or maybe you have audio that's composition versus audio that's not composition. You can lay it all out here. Like you could literally just say, all right, well, I'm going to put all my audio here so that it's accessible, you know, and it all works out just fine. And let me, oh, that's right, these have an embedding, there's an embedding problem with these. To figure out, what is it? Code, height 450, let's say height 700, oh, nope, that didn't work. I think it's got to go to frame width 100%, scrolling, frame border now. Oh, I think we have to add scrolling. Yes, sorry, there's a little bit of an adjustment here. Still didn't really do it. All right, either way, so if you were loading up your audio, instead of having this be your first, this be your page and you're seeing all things all at once, you could technically decide to go in and say, okay, you know, what I'm going to do is create subset pages to my audio. So in my audio, I may decide to add a couple pages that are subsets to the audio page. One of them maybe being composition. And instead of letting it be at the top up on the surface, it's going to be a sub page to audio. So you just have to drag it to the right. So we're going to add another page here. And maybe we make this mixing. Right? So now I have these two wonderful pages. If we go back to my audio page, let me just split these up. So I'm gonna cut this one, take it to composition, and then I'm gonna cut the other one and take it to mixing. Here we go for mixing. Now if I go back to the audio main page, what I'm going to do is generate. What's up, buddy? How's it going? Good to see you. I'm glad you came by. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create buttons from the main audio page. So this might be something you decide to do. And of course, you can resize your buttons. So if you really look at the way this is laid out, you know, it's kind of bland in the screen. So you might want to. You may decide, hey, you know, I want to make a different size button, or maybe even change the image that you're using for the button itself. You can actually customize your button designs overall. You're choosing whether or not you're using this particular, like this ribbon kind of look, where it's like cut up on the side. You technically could even use images if you wanted to, instead of creating these particular buttons. Let me go look and see. Let's say I do one of these, just because it's a, let's see if we got something. Ooh, that's icky. Oh, okay, here we go. Although the font really doesn't do it justice. But let's go ahead and look at this real quick. So what does the button say, right? So let's say the first button says composition. And then it's going to say, where does it link to? Now we're going to need to change some settings here because I don't like the size of the text, but we're going to go back to that. So where does it link to? Let's have it link to a page. So notice by default it says page. And then it's going to say, which page would you like it to link to? Now this will list all of your active pages on your website, okay? So of course we want this to be composition. And where on the page? Now this is kind of cool. You could technically, with this anchor point element, you could technically set this. It's a newer concept right now that's being used. A lot of times you see it on manufacturers' websites, where instead of it having a link to a different page, it just has a link to a lower section on the page, so it jumps you down. It's just kind of nifty. But in this situation, we're going to just link it to the composition page. So now that'll go to composition. Let's go look at... Let's see here. This is a bit hideous, so I'm going to change it back. This guy. And then what I'm going to do is, now that that's done, all I'm going to do, it's kind of nice once you guys build these kinds of things, use the copy paste functions as much as you can. It'll save you so much time. Let's see, although I think it's kind of slowing down a little bit. If we were to go to the audio tab, what we should have is the composition should take us straight to the composition subpage, which it did in this instance. And then of course you could put a title here called composition. So we go back to the editor and we go back to the main audio page. All I'm going to do is copy paste this. So I'm just going to hit Command C, right? Command V, and it just drops the second one down there. I'm going to align it up. The reason I like to copy paste is so that the button is identical in size. This one I'm going to call mixing. I think is with the other option that we had. One change I think is I'm going to go back to using all caps. I don't like this lowercase crap. So which page does it link to when I made the mixing button? Now I need it to go to the mixing subpage that we created. You guys following this so far? Let's go all caps. Oops. And there we go. So once we've done that, we can go ahead and use these, buttons to link to those particular pages. And of course, if we preview this again, go to the mixing page. There we are with the mixing elements from an audio standpoint there. So you can see all those mixes. Let me save this real quick before I forget. And then, so far, what that should have set up for us is we should now have, at this point in time, your resume page should be, or if you're still working on it, great, you're tidying it up, but some of the easy stuff that we should be through already is the resume page should be up there with a download for the resume link. Your bio, hopefully you were able to either make it a separate page or make it your home page. Notice I just have this how-to video extra page on here, which I put up for you guys. But your bio should be listed on a page already. That was an easy copy paste. Now the one thing we need to talk about that we hadn't really had the opportunity yet to really fully discuss is how are we now going to set up our audio portfolio pages themselves. So I set up my whole subpage listing. I could just rearrange it. Let me see here. I'm going to, oops, sorry, not the editor. Let me make an adjustment. So I'm just going to kind of center these in this field. It's still kind of low. And let's say, I'm going to do something a little different with this. Let me just pull an image real quick and let's say I pull something, I think I had something on here that's usable. Oh, okay, could use maybe this guy. What I'm going to do is I want to edit this or crop it, make some adjustment to it so it'll cleanly assist us in what we're going to do here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if you can see where it says edit image, I'm just going to edit this image a little bit. But what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to crop it, and I'm going to make some slight adjustments to how it's cropped. But I'm going to make this kind of the estimated size of what we're using for the button. So I don't want it square, I kind of want it more rectangular. Something like this, right? Then I'll just hit apply. So I don't see a, oh, actually I could use this. I'm going to go ahead and use the 16:9 preset. That might help. Yeah, there we go. So let's apply this. Now, once I apply it and save, I'm going to bring it into the page itself. So once it's there and it's saved and it's cropped, sorry, give it a second to bring it in. Let's go ahead and apply it. It'll show up on the top left. So notice it's kind of gotten this, it's got this like wide shot instead of being so square. I'm going to shrink it down a little bit, right? So I'm basically going to try to make it roughly the size that I created for my buttons here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to replace them. So I'm going to pull the composition one out of the way. So just if you guys want to do something more in this vein, this is how you're able to do it. Now watch what I'm able to do with this. See the link icon up above? I'm going to go ahead and change this link to page. It's a page link that goes to the mixing tab, right? And then what I'm going to do is have this link to the mixing tab, and I'm going to add text on top of it. So I just need a standard form of text. I'm going to go to add text. Let's do this large heading one. Should be about the same size. And all I'm going to do here is replace where it says large heading with mixing, and I need it to be particularly white. So I'm going to change the color. I'm going to drag and drop it and see where this leaves us. All right, so I need one more element for this. You guys have all done it before. With your previous setups with your text. When I edit this text, I need to add a drop shadow. So if we slide down, I like the one that's in G because it's a little more broad. We might even need a little more shadowing from it. So let's go look at this one more time. Yeah, I might have to go with A. And sometimes when you're forced to do an overlay like this, if you can't get the drop shadow to work, my suggestion is go to add box. You're just going to add a gray box, and you'll see its opacity is already kind of set up to be fairly light. All I'm going to do is check this out. I'm just going to center it on my image, right? Top to bottom, left to right. And if I right click it, or you can actually do it, actually the better way to do it would be to right click it. See where it says arrange down in the list? I'm going to send it backwards, but not all the way to the back. So I need to use the move backwards, just so that it falls underneath the text. So now you see, if I were to preview this, ignore the button on the right. If I were to preview this, I probably want to make some size adjustments so this black box that's going around everything is not so awkward, because it's kind of awkward right now. But now you see I have this button and I have the text listed here. All you have to do is click it, and there we go to the audio that's listed for mixing. So what I'm going to do, thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
What I'm going to do with this is, now that we set that up, and I was kind of mentioning this before, now that this is set, all I have to do now, if I love that, if I'm like, yes, I love how this is set. Give me 1 second. Now that I like this, what I can do with this is I think what I'm going to do is actually click all items. So I need all 3 of these to come with me. I'm going to nudge it down. I think I'm going to put a title above this so that it's not so. I think it's kind of it's a little confusing what this is. But I'm going to go ahead and copy, right? Command C, Command V, copy paste, drag and drop. Here we go. So you see how this looks. I'm going to then double click my text, right? I'm going to edit my text because the new text needed to say composition on tab number 2. Now, you guys are not required to do this. The reason I am showing you this, though, is because I know a lot of you are kind of fairly ahead and a lot of you are advanced, and you're going to want to make a more appealing look for your website. So this may overall give you a really good advantage. The only thing I need to do is change the box behind it, so the box behind it's a little larger. There we go. Oops. I moved the whole thing a little bit. Sorry, just trying to get these lined up. Now, the image that's back behind, I don't need to use it. I'm not forced to use it. So what I would want to do is I want to make sure that the image that I do use is something that maybe matches the idea of composition. So let's go change the image. Let's go find something in here. I should have something already in here that's somewhat composition based. Or I could just use a guitar. Let's see. I don't remember if I had a photo of, I don't see one. Let's go with, oh, here we go. So let's go with this one. I'm going to edit this one. I'm going to crop it just the way that I did the other one. I'm going to go into the 16:9 frame. All right, let's apply that. Awesome. I think I'm also going to, while I'm here, do some color effects. So let's see what we got. Above, you can see there's some kind of nifty little options. Kind of shows you some previews of some stuff. You know, and it might actually even be helpful. Let's say I do this, the white strip one here, and I choose this. It might be helpful to do this to the other one to kind of give it a little bit of a border for that button. So here's this guy edited. Let's apply it. You see how easily it just replaced that particular item? Although the white border didn't work. I think the frame, I think because I adjusted the size. Let me see here. Might just redo that then. Let me do something else. Sorry, I know this is quite a bit to work with, but this will really help overall. Once I have this button in, I'm almost there. Once I have this button in, we're ready to go. Now let's try something. Let's try that one. See what that one's like. Okay. So here are these two, sections here. I might want, like I said before, I think I want to change, see if I can get this to adjust. I don't like how large this is. Just forget if there's a way. This is fixed. And I'm going to bring all these items down just a little bit so that I can, I'll just put a text title here. So let's go with add text, large heading. Oh no, wait, let's get rid of that one. Add, let's do all caps title. Just going to do audio portfolio. Here we go, right in the white. And then I might blow this up even bigger. And now I'm just going to put this as my title over here, so you kind of understand what the heck is this. One thing I do suggest when it comes to formatting, though, one thing I haven't mentioned yet, when you're formatting your locations and you're using those pink kind of purplish guides that show up and show whether or not you're aligned, you have to keep in mind, particularly with text, is the text left addressed or right addressed or center addressed? In this instance, it's left because you can tell because all the space that's on the right. So you need to actually go down into the alignment of the text and make sure it's centered, because what that'll do is it'll make sure that the box that it's using, because it's interestingly enough, what it's using to decide where center is for you is it's using the blue outline. It's not using where the text starts and where the text ends. It's using this box, this overall box for alignment. So when you're trying to align this, it has to be, like if you want to hit that dead center mark, like you see it right there, if you don't have your text center addressed, it's actually going to be a little off to the left. Does that make sense? So it's going to be important for you guys to make sure that your text is center addressed. So here we go. So let's save this real quick. So here's where we are with this. If we go preview this, it's kind of nifty. Little thing, little image buttons instead of having these, just standard buttons. One thing I will say though that will also benefit in this particular situation is, let's say you go to your mixing button. If we go to the mixing button and we get here, we have to go back up to the top to get anywhere else. Kind of makes it awkward. So you may actually decide, what I want to do is I want to leave a button in, one of these options to get back and forth in each one. So in my composition tab, I want to have a mixing button there so you can kick back to the mixing stuff instead of being stuck there. One other thing I'm noticing while I'm doing this is that it will help I didn't actually have any of this stuff, so let's see. I didn't have the text itself linked to that tab, so if I hovered over the text, it wasn't taking me anywhere until I hovered over the picture. So what I'm going to want to do is where it says link on the text, I'm just going to do the same thing I did before. So this one's going to mixing, done. That way I don't have to screw with it. And it's in your editing section, so if you double click it, you'll see this little link icon. So this one's going to go to composition. But before I copy paste all this, I want to make sure I get this right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this, and actually I can just use this. I'm going to drag and highlight all of this, copy, right? I'm going to go to my composition tab, and in my composition tab, I'm going to create a link to kick us back to the other tab. So what I need to do is, copy paste it. I'm just going to throw it in here somewhere. Maybe I'll just put it at the bottom so it's kind of out of the way. Although I see the arrangement didn't come in correctly. So right click, arrange, send to back. I don't know why these came out of order. Gray box, arrange, move backwards. There we go. So that thing's good to go. And I would do the same thing with the other one. So I need to, you know, I'm gonna drag. Whoops. Do that. I'm gonna drag these guys. Copy. Go to the mixing page. I'm actually just gonna move this over here so it's like the other one. We're gonna work with this. There's gonna be some changes that need to be made anyway. You know, I'll just pull this down to the bottom so it's out of the way. And then let's go arrange, send to back, arrange, backward. So this looks good. Should be good. So that's all set up. Okay, so now let's talk about embedding from SoundCloud. You guys doing okay so far?
Definitely.
Okay, you followed me, right, with where I was going with this? Let's talk about embedding this from SoundCloud. Now, there's a couple options for you. The one that I've used here is I used an HTML box. If you were to go to add and you were to look through here, you see a couple things for media, for music. If you go to the music player, you'll see that the Wix music player is available. You also have SoundCloud Player, the Spotify Player. You also have these mini players, which are kind of cool if you want to use any one of those. There's an iTunes button, which you're really not going to use there. There's a SoundCloud playlist option there as well. I will say this. I'm a big fan of the SoundCloud playlist because there's a lot less formatting for you to have to do manually. If you feel like, you know what, I know exactly what I want to do and I know exactly how I want it to look and I don't want to have to add or do any additional elements, and I won't be planning on making extra changes, you can do these little button ideas because these buttons are literally going to do this. So let's say we went in and let's say we just pick something simple, just as easy as like this guy here, this mini player. What it's going to do is it's going to say, all right, upload a track. Now I have a bunch of stuff already uploaded here. Let's say I think I showed you guys this one before. Let's say I choose this one. Now what you'll see here is in this version of it, it's literally just a play button and there's no text, right? So that's good and bad for obvious reasons because it doesn't say anything about it. What you can do though is when you're working on this, you could decide at this point in time if you want to make any changes to the overall theme, but you could actually manually add text. If you wanted to put just a piece of text manually above it, maybe that's the way you want to go, you know, so you don't have to be worried about if it's just a play button. You could just put a piece of text right here that says what it is. But again, that's quite a bit of work. If I were to slide down though and use one of these guys actually come with text. Okay, so let's just say I pick, let's say I pick this guy, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring in a song. Let's see, where was that? Back to this one. What it's gonna do is it's gonna essentially give you the opportunity to put whatever information you like in here. So you're gonna have to go in to settings. You're gonna have to go in and say a couple things. What is the track name? Who's the artist? You know, so this one was Lead the People by me. Notice this gives you some options for autoplay and play in loop. Another cool part here is where it says how loud does it play. If you have differences in your overall levels, it gives you the opportunity to make adjustments to that here, so it already has that opportunity in fixed position. The only thing I will say, from a formatting standpoint, if you decide to do these manual buttons, one thing you're going to have to look at, and it's one of those things that I don't know if I've mentioned before, but your frame, your template frame moves with your boxes. So like anything you've dropped in this black box, if I make it bigger or smaller, or I should say mostly bigger because it's as small as it'll go, is actually going to change the overall body shape of how it's being used. So it's really important that when you decide, when you're electing to make your player a certain size, remember that you need to cross-reference how it looks in several different browsers, okay? So you're going to need to look at it here, and you're going to need to look at it on, whatever else you're not using. So if you're using Firefox, check it out on Safari. Check it out on a PC on Internet Explorer if you can. Check it out on Chrome. See what it's looking like formatting-wise. And if it's lining up the same way that it was before in the browser that you had designed it in. So there's that option, okay? So there's some options here for you to go ahead and load this in these formats. But the preferred way, to be honest, is going to be in the SoundCloud format. Now, in the SoundCloud format, if we go to Add and we go Music, you'll notice that for SoundCloud, there's a couple of different options. One, there's the individual SoundCloud Player. Downside to the SoundCloud Player is if you're doing a one-off and you're doing just the SoundCloud Player, it's every song independently listed, which means you have to go in and you're going to have to apply. So this is just one song. You're going to have to go, same way you would do if you use the Wix players, you're going to have to go in and format this. And you're going to have to make adjustments to it. So if we were to go look at the layout, a couple different layout options you could use. Show cover art in the background, hide cover art in the background. Of course, you have to have cover art to make that work. I'll show you what this looks like if I put mine in here. Then you need to embed the code. So let's go look at mine real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my SoundCloud. So here's my SoundCloud. And I'm going to go ahead and embed just a single song. Okay? So let's say we do let's do this one, okay? I'm going to do this song called Happy. So what I'm going to do is go to Share, where it says Share. Sharing is where you access your embed code. So notice this is if I hit Share and I go Embed, this is the embed code that applies to this particular song. Now the Wix editor itself, when you hit Embed Code, it's going to ask you to paste the embed code into the player. So notice down here it says paste embed code. Bless you. So we're just going to paste this embed code, update it, and let it do its thing. So this is what it looks like on a single player instance. Now, I'll be honest, I'm a fan of the look of the single player. So not to be confused with, I'm going to move these out of the way so they're still here. You can kind of see them all side by side. Not to be confused with the fact that the single player sucks in terms of formatting. I like the look of the single player format. Right? Because see, if you notice, I don't know how much of it you can see, but what you see in the single player is the background image is the image that you apply to SoundCloud. So in your SoundCloud, whatever image you've applied to each song, sometimes it's the same as your profile pic. If you have it set up that way, then that shows up in the background and you get the single instance of that song. Now, if I'm just showing off just one song, or a couple songs, this is not a problem. For your portfolio, this will be a huge pain. The reason why specifically, right? Because again, this is a cool look. I'm a big fan of how this really comes out from a look perspective. It just really has this look. But the problem with it in reality is that unfortunately, if you decided that you were like, oh crap, right before your portfolio, I want to change the order of the songs as they're heard, as they're seen on the website, or oh, I want to apply an update to my song, or I want to take a couple things out of the list or apply a couple things in the list. Particularly if you wanted to change anything about the way that the flow of the organization is. And it happens to me all the time. So like on my own personal websites, some days I'm more into, all right, if I'm showing this to somebody, this is the first song I want them to hear. And I want to change that order real quickly. And I don't want to have to go in and reformat it because you're going to have to rearrange all these boxes. Okay, so there's that in a nutshell. If you don't want to have to deal with that, you're going to want to use the playlist version, which is really going to make it a lot easier for you. But let's go look at a couple things, though. So I'm going to move this guy to make him a little smaller so he's not so in the way. Okay, so there's that one song. Now, if I go to Add, and I go down to music, and I, from the music tab, go to the bottom of the screen. It says related apps, SoundCloud playlist. I'm going to hit add to site, a little plus icon. And then all of a sudden there's this thing. Now, I'm not a big fan of the formatting of this, the way that this one looks either. So there's this SoundCloud playlist option. But maybe you don't know what a SoundCloud playlist is. Does anybody know what the SoundCloud playlist is, or has anyone created one yet?
Have not created.
No. Okay. So in SoundCloud, you're able to essentially generate, which I love it this way. It's pretty smart. If you had, like, let's say you posted 10 songs, all right, and out of those 10 songs, between the 10 songs, there's 2 different albums of your music on those 10 songs. But you loaded them independently, one by one. Now, if you then need to sort them into their album categories so that you could share them with people as an album instead of sharing them with people as a single entity, you create playlists. And that's what we're going to do with our portfolio, essentially, to kind of make it easy. So when you're inside of your SoundCloud, normally you'll see the upload option, and that's where you're going to upload your single items. But if you were to go over here and actually look on underneath your name, you're going to see a thing that says tracks, is where we see all the independent stuff. But up underneath your profile, something that says playlists. Now that'll show you the playlists that are created. But if you have 0 playlists, like most people do when you're jumping in for the first time, what we're going to do first is we're going to go to this thing at the bottom. See underneath this song where it says City of Lights and it says Add to Playlist? I'm just going to hit Add to Playlist. Then it's going to generate this window. If you have no playlists here, it's not going to say Add to Playlist. It'll just say, it'll give you the option to create a new one. So if you wanted to create a new playlist, here's your opportunity, create a new playlist. You can make it public or private. The difference is if it's public, everybody on SoundCloud can see it. If it's private, only places that you embedded are accessible to see it. So if you're making all of your portfolio private, it's fine because when you post it to your website, it'll be visible. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to add 2 playlists. So right now, let's say I added 2 playlists, composition. I'm just going to hit over to the right, add 2 playlists, and it'll throw it into composition. Once you've generated your playlist, then you have to go up to the top. You have to go find your playlists. Let's say I go to my songwriting playlist. As soon as I'm in my songwriting playlist, sorry, this is a little highlight that's for playlist editing. Now you see this little icon for share. So here's my playlist. And I can edit and move these. So if I'm like, oh man, I don't like the order of these, I'm just going to go in, hit edit, go to tracks, and grab them and move them in any order that I want to, right? So I can drag and drop them so they're reordered. I can also add, metadata, the buy link, things like that. All that information can be here. I can rename the name of the playlist itself. But if I go to the share icon, now all of a sudden you see the share link, and there's the embed code. Okay? So here's your embed code for what this looks like. There's also an opportunity here where it says more options. You can change the overall size. You can also set it to autoplay. When you buy if you buy the upgrade to SoundCloud, it gives you a lot more options to choose from and what your playlist looks like. Now, I'm a big fan of, I don't like this look because on the web page you have to scroll down to see all these songs. It makes it kind of painful. So I'm a bigger fan of it looking like this. So the one that you even saw that was up there, I don't really like. You can also change the color of your play button. So if you wanted to be specific, so, oh man, I want it to match my website. I'm going to use this color or that color. And that's where you can do that. Once that's done, highlight, copy the embed code. You're going to go ahead and take it onto your editor. And of course, you're going to drop it into where it says, I'm sorry. In this one, you actually have to physically connect your account, which you could do by just logging in. So let's say, I don't remember where. Okay, since I'm already signed in, it says, would you like to connect? Yeah, let's connect it. All right, from here, you have the option, once all of that stuff's in there, wait, what? You're now connected to SoundCloud account. You don't have a playlist. I do have a playlist. I don't understand why you're saying I don't. Hold on a sec, let me see. That is kind of mind-boggling. Let's see. Settings. Interesting. So that's not even working correctly. Well, all in all, I will say this. If you're able to get this version of it to work and you make it look good, please show it to me because I'd like to see it because I haven't seen it yet look appropriate. And in my experience, what I instead tend to do, and this is my suggestion to you guys when you're doing this, go ahead and go to the market where it says the Wix app market, search for HTML. Hopefully you've had some experience in HTML. All you're going to do is use a HTML frame of some sort, and any sort. Add it to your site. So what I'm going to do is HTML frame. I'm going to add it to my site. It's going to come up blank, right? What I'm going to want to do is I'm going to add. It says website address or code. I'm going to use code instead. I'm going to copy paste the embed code into the frame, and away we go. So here is the playlist from SoundCloud. The only downside to using the HTML frame is that you notice it had these scroll bar options and it came in real small. If you don't put it to the appropriate size, you're going to have to go into the code and just give it a different sizing option. So let's go look at the code real quick. See where it says height 450? And then it says even the frame width is at 100%. If you make adjustments to these, it will essentially adjust how your frame, your overall frame looks. So let's do a 50% update. See the difference?
Yeah.
And you kind of, sometimes if you're like trying to find the right size or fidget with it, you're gonna have to mess with it a little bit. So unfortunately you can't just move this. But the reason I like this so much, to be honest guys, let me get rid of this one. The reason I like this so much is because when you do use this, sorry, I'm trying to squeeze it amongst all this other stuff. Let me go to the back and get these, delete this one. Again, the reason I like this so much is if you make any changes or you need any changes made, you can simply go to Wix.com, or I'm sorry, the SoundCloud.com, and make your adjustments in your playlist there. So a lot of times when I have students that are working on their portfolio, they're like trying to rush to get through all their stuff, and most times they need to, update their playlists because oh man, I just had a new mix, and that new mix is ready to go. So now what I want to do is I want to add that new mix and replace the other song that was in there. So what'll happen is all you have to do is go to SoundCloud and just literally, upload the new song and delete the one out of the playlist and drop the new one into the playlist, and it'll literally just update and show up here. So
you don't have to recopy paste the embed code?
No, you won't have to redo the embed code at all, which is what I love about it. Yeah, because if you were to do them song by song, you'd have to recopy the embed code. When you do them on the Wix player, what you could do, I guess one benefit to let me undo this real quick. One benefit to using the Wix players, other than the fact that they're independent, which is a little bit harder. So if you were to make a playlist looking thing out of the Wix players, you're going to have to align them all, But one benefit is after it's put in place, if you ever want to update the song, you can also upload a new track and it'll drop it into the same spot that it was in. The other thing you can do is there is an align option in the tools here. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to align objects. Like if you were like trying to find a way to align all of your objects, if you were to highlight them, so let's say we did this. So if you are going to make a bunch of these out of the Wix player, to assist you with lining everything up, I don't know why that's missing it. I think it's, there we go. You can use this align option and you can choose what your alignment is. You can align to the right. So see how it's going to move all these guys all at the same time? Of course, now they're all on top of each other in that one. Let me back it up to where it started because that threw the alignment off. to begin with. You know, so maybe we want to, all these want to be center. So see how it just kind of nudged everybody's center. You know, so it gives you these alignment options. So that may help you if you're creating those playlists in that format. But again, to me, this is just the easiest way to do it. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and publish this so that you guys, I sent via email, I sent you guys all copies of this link so that you could go. So if you need to go back in your email and see it, this will give you the opportunity to be able to look at what we've done in class. You know, some of the crap I decided to do with these. Right, so you kind of see or get an idea of what these look like. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So far, so good?
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about video. Just going to add the video options to these. Let me go back to the editor. Oh, actually I already did save this.